Hello friends, let's learn today Unit 3 Friendship and Duty. Activity 1. William Sidney Porter, better known by the pen name O. Henry, was an American writer. O. Henry's short stories are known for their wit, wordplay, warm characterization, and clear twist endings. He was born on 11 September 1862 in North Carolina and died on 5th June 1910. From December 1903 to January 1906, O. Henry wrote a story a week for the New York World magazine and published several short stories in other magazines. Some of his famous stories are The Last Life, The Gift of Maggie, The Furnished Room, Cabbage and Kings. The story, after 20 years, has the typical O. Henry twist. However, the characters portrayed could well make us reflect on our values. So see children, this author William Sidney Porter, he is a very well-known author, and his pen name was O. Henry. He has written amazing stories, amazing short stories. One of that is the last leaf, where it is about Sue and Johnsy, two poor artists living in Greenwich Village. They face a critical moment when Johnsy falls ill and believes that she will die when the last leaf of an ivy vine falls. So in the act of selfless sacrifice, then, this elderly painter, he risks his life to paint a leaf on the vine to give Johnsy hope. And this story has been used in a Bollywood movie, and there is a film over it using the same story. Then another one is The Gift of the Maggie. This is about a poor couple, Jim and Della, and they both loved each other, and there was Christmas coming. They wanted to give a gift to each other, and because both were poor, like they didn't have any money. So then it is the story of them that Della, she goes to the parlor and gets her hair cut. She had a really long hair, and she gets the money out of it to buy the chain or gold chain for her husband's antique watch, which was given to him by his grandfather. And in order to buy a gift for Della, Jim actually sells his watch and gets a set of combs to comb her hair. And both of them, they do sacrifice for each other. They sacrifice their most precious things, and it is about that. It is about that love for the for each other in that story. This story here, it is given after 20 years, and it's a wonderful story. Let's start reading that, and I'll keep on explaining. The policeman on the beat moved up the avenue impressively. The impressiveness was habitual and not for show, for spectators were few. Spectators means audience or people who can see. Policeman, he was patrolling, he was moving here and there, and he very impressively he was doing that. It was his habit to move around, and he was not doing it for show, but he was doing his duty. The time was barely 10 o'clock at night, but chilly gusts of wind with a test of rain in them had well nigh people the streets. So the time, it wasn't too late, it was only 10 o'clock at night, but still there was chilly wind coming, and there was a smell, or there was a rain, smell of rain was there. And people, people were not there, not many people were there. So there is a reason here it is written depeopled the streets. Okay, because of that chilly night, and because maybe there was raining somewhere. Trying doors as he went, twirling his club with many intricate and artful movements now and then to cast his watchful eye adown the Pacific thoroughfare. The officer, with his stalwart form and slight swagger, made a fine picture of a guardian of peace. And the vicinity was one that kept early hours now and then. You might see the lights of a cigar store or an all-night lunch counter, but the majority of all of the doors belonged to business places that had long since been closed. So here he was moving around, twirling his club, moving his stick in a very intricate and artful movement, right? He was turning and twisting his stick in his hand, and he was carefully watching around because he was on duty, okay, and he was here a name, guardian of peace name has been given to him because the way he was moving around, and he was quite impressive. Okay, and there was a swagger in his movement, in his personality, and there was only a cigar store was open and an all-night lunch counter. Now you might be thinking that why the word lunch is written here. Okay, so why the word lunch is given here? So in many parts of the foreign countries, even today, the evening meal is known as lunch, and the afternoon meal is known as dinner. Okay, so this you need to understand. It is about, they are talking about the food only, all night lunch counter. Let's move on. When about midway of a certain block, the policeman suddenly slowed his walk. In the doorway of a darkened hardware store, a man leaned with an unlighted cigar in his mouth. As the policeman walked up to him, the man spoke up quickly. So he says, as he was going around and in the doorway of a darkened hardware store, a man was sitting with cigar in his mouth, but it was unlighted. And the policeman suspected something wrong, and that's the reason he started walking to him. And as he saw this policeman, he quickly spoke up. It's all right, officer, he said. I'm just waiting for a friend. It's an appointment made 20 years ago. Sounds a little funny to you, doesn't it? Well, I'll explain if you'd like to make certain it's all straight. About that long ago, there used to be a restaurant where the store stands, Big Joe Brothers Restaurant. Until 5 years ago, said the policeman. It was torn down then. So now this man, he is assuring the policeman that there is nothing wrong. He is waiting for a friend, and they decided this appointment 20 years ago. And he is thinking that, this man is thinking that maybe to this policeman it is a bit funny that 20 years before they decided this appointment, and that was the time when there was a restaurant here, Big Joe Brothers Restaurant, but now this restaurant is no more and there is a store instead. And the policeman also agrees that yes, it was only 5 years ago that the restaurant was torn down. The man in the doorway struck a match and lit his cigar. The light showed a pale, square-jawed face with keen eyes and a little white scar near his right eyebrow. His scarf pin was a large diamond, oddly set. Now, after this conversation, this man in the doorway, he struck a match and he lit a cigar. And when he did that, the policeman's careful, watchful eyes saw the face of that man. Okay, and that was a square-jawed face. It had keen eyes and it was pale-looking face, and there was a little white scar near his right eyebrow. Only a policeman can do such kind of observation just in few seconds. Okay, now 20 years ago tonight, said the man, I dined here at Big Joe Brady's with Jimmy Wells, my best chum and the finest chap in the world. He and I were raised here in New York just like two brothers together. I was 18 and Jimmy was 20. The next morning, I was to start for the West to make my fortune. You couldn't have dragged Jimmy out of New York. He thought it was the only place on the earth. Well, we agreed that night that we would meet here again exactly 20 years from that date and time, no matter what our conditions might be or from what distance we might have to come. We figured that in 20 years each of us ought to have our destiny worked out and our fortunes made, whatever they were going to be. So now now this man who was sitting, who was smoking, he is telling his story to the policeman. He is saying that he's talking about his friend Jimmy Wells, who was his best friend, and he said that they were raised like two brothers there, and he was 18, Jimmy was 20, he was a bit older than him, and they separated from there after having a dinner, and they said they decided an appointment that after 20 years we'll meet here again. So this man, he wanted to go to the West, but Jimmy never wanted to leave New York. It sounds pretty interesting, said the policeman. Rather a long time between meets, though, it seemed to me. Haven't you heard from your friend since you left? Well, yes, for a time we corresponded, said the other, but after a year or two we lost track of each other. You see, the West is pretty big proposition, and I kept hustling around over it pretty lively. But I know Jimmy will meet me here if he's alive, for he always was the truest, staunchest old chap in the world. He'll never forget. I came 1,000 miles to stand in the store tonight, and it's worth it if my old partner turns up. Now, this man, and let me tell you, his name is Bob. His name is Bob, and it is he has been mentioned as Silky Bob in this story. So Bob and Jimmy, they were friends, and he loved Jimmy so much, and he trusted Jimmy so much, and he praised Jimmy like anything. He praised Jimmy so much. He is telling that he is the best person in the whole world. He was the best friend and best person in this whole world. He was the truest and staunchest old chap. Okay, and he trusted Jimmy so much, and he knew in his heart that no matter what, Jimmy will definitely come to that place tonight because they decided it 20 years back. The waiting man pulled out a handsome watch. The leads of it sat with small diamonds. Now you see, there are certain things which are very important. They have been mentioned here carefully. First thing is, his scarf pin was a large diamond. Means this man, he was wearing a scarf, and there was a pin on that scarf which was a large diamond. Okay. Now the second thing that is given here, the watch he was wearing here. He pulled out a handsome watch, right? That time people were hanging the watches. They were not wearing the watches how we wear on wrist, but they were hanging the watches. So he pulled out a handsome watch, and the lids of it set with small diamonds. 3 minutes to 10, he announced. So again, small diamond. So this shows that he had things which had diamonds in them, which shows that this man was very, very rich, extremely rich person. 3 minutes to 10, he announced. It was exactly 10 o'clock when we parted here at the restaurant door. Did pretty well out in the west, didn't you? Asked the policeman. You bet. I hope Jimmy has half done as well. Now, see, the policeman is inquiring that, see, you did very well in the west, didn't you? And he is telling, this man, he is so much into Jimmy Wells, his friend, and he is still remembering him, and he is telling, even Jimmy has done half of this. I'm pretty sure. He was the kind of plotter, though, good fellow as he was. This Bob thinks that Jimmy didn't want to do so much of hard work, and that is a reason here he used the word plotter. But he was a good fellow. He was a good fellow, and if I have earned so much of money, then Jimmy also must have earned half of it. That's what he is telling here. I had to compete with some of the sharpest wits going to get my mile. A man gets in a groove in New York. It takes the West to put a razor edge on him. The policeman twirled his club and took a step or two. I'll be on my way. Hope your fine comes around all right. Going to call time on him sharp? I should say not, said the other. I will give him half an hour. At least, if Jim is alive on the earth, he will be here by that time. So long, officer. So now the officer is inquiring that it is already 10 and his friend has not come. So is he going to wait or not? What is he going to do? And Silky Bob is saying that no, I'm going to wait for him, and I'm pretty sure if he is alive, he will definitely come to see me. Good night, sir, said the policeman, passing on along his bit, trying doors as he went. And the policeman moves away. There was now a fine cold drizzle falling, and the wind had risen from its uncertain puffs into a steady blow. The few pedestrians in the neighborhood hurried dismally and silently along with coat collars turned high and pocketed hands. And in the door of the hardware store, the man who had come 1,000 miles to fill an appointment with the friend of his youth smoked his cigar and waited. Now see, again the picture changes a bit. There is a cold drizzle falling now, and the wind had risen. Like there was a steady blow of cool wind, and there were few pedestrians walking on the footpath, and they were hurriedly walking because it started raining, and they were wearing long coats, and then their hands were in the pocket. And this man, he waits for his friend. He came 1,000 miles. Okay, he came from far away to see his friend of youth, and he smoked his cigar and he waited. About 20 minutes he waited. And then a tall man in a long overcoat with collar turned up to his ears hurried across the opposite side of the street. He came directly to the waiting man. Is it you, Bob? He asked doubtfully. Is it you, Jimmy Wells? Cried the man in the door. Bless my heart, exclaimed the new arrival, grasping both the other's hands with his own. It's Bob. Sure as fate, I was certain I'd find you here if you were still in existence. Well, 20 years is a long time. The old restaurant's gone, Bob. I wish it had lasted, so we could have had another dinner here. How has the West treated you, old man? It has given me everything I asked it for. You've changed lots, Jimmy. I never thought you were so tall by 2 or 3 inches. Oh, I grew up a bit after I was 20. Doing well in New York, Jimmy? Moderately. I have a position in one of the city departments. Come on, Bob. We'll go around to a place I know of and I have a good long talk about old times. So finally, after 20 minutes, Bob's friend, he comes and he directly comes to him, holds his hands, and he asks doubtfully, "Is that you, Bob?" And they both meet each other. Okay, he holds his hands and he says that, oh, both of them are excited, and they love greeting each other, and they both are asking about their health, and they are saying, "Oh, how are you? How has the West treated you?" And then they both are so happy, and Bob has a little doubt that Jimmy was looking tall, and he is surprised to see that Jimmy was taller than he saw him last time. And then this man, Jimmy is saying that, "Come on, I'll take you to the place I know of, and as we walk, we will talk." The two men started up the street, arm in arm. One, his egotism enlarged by success, was beginning to outline the history of his career. The other, submerged in his overcoat, listened with interest. So now, both of them, they are walking arm in arm, and they are telling the stories of their success. Especially Bob, he is talking about his success story. At the corner stood a drug store, brilliant with electric lights. When they came into the glare, each of them turned simultaneously to gaze upon the other's face. Now, so till now they were in the dark, and they started talking, but as they come to the corner of the footpath, there was a drug store with brilliant electric lights. And as they came into that light, then they saw each other's face. And the man from the west stopped suddenly and released his arm. "You are not Jimmy Wells," he snapped. 20 years is a long time, but not long enough to change a man's nose from a Roman to pug. So Bob now identifies this man. He recognizes this man, and he knows that he is someone else. He is not Jimmy, my friend. And he is telling that, yes, I know that a person can change in 20 years, but 20 years cannot change a man's nose from a Roman to pug. And he's pretty sure that this man who I'm standing with is not my friend. "It sometimes changes a good man into a bad one," said the tall man. So this tall man is saying that yes, 20 years it cannot change the nose of a man, but it can certainly change a good man into bad one. "You have been under arrest for 10 minutes, Silky Bob. Going quietly, are you? That's sensible. Now, before we go to the station, here is a note I was asked to hand you. You may read it here at the window. It's from Patrolman Wells." So this man, he tells this Bob that you are already under arrest for 10 minutes. And he is saying that I have been given a small letter, a note. And I have Wells, that is Jimmy Wells. The man from the west unfolded the little piece of paper handed over to him. His hand was steady when he began to read, but it trembled a little by the time he had finished. The note was rather short. So he started reading this paper, and when he was about to end his reading, his hand starts trembling. So let's see what was written in the note. "Bob, I was at the appointed place on time. When you struck your match to light your cigar, I saw it was the face of the man wanted in Chicago. Somehow I couldn't do it to myself, so I went around and got a plainclothes man to do the job, Jimmy." So this was written by the policeman, Jimmy Wells, and he said that, "Bob, I was there. At that time, appointed time, I was there. But when you struck the match and you lit your cigar, I saw the face of a criminal who was wanted in Chicago. And then because you were my friend, I couldn't arrest you. I should have done it at the same time, but because you are my friend and I couldn't do it. And that's why I had to get another policeman in plain clothes to do my job. So this is a beautiful, beautiful story, and it tells us so much about friendship and duty. What comes first, friendship or duty? Okay, let's see. Let me tell you some of the activities here. I think I'll write all the answers, and I'll put the link in the description so you can go through the answers. Here a prefix is a letter or group of letters placed in the beginning of a word. So you know, here see, these are the words made up of prefixes. So direct, indirect, probable, improbable, responsible, irresponsible, legal, illegal. So competent, you can also add in and incompetent, pleasant. You can add here pleasant. I have to find it out. I'll put it in the notes actually. So here mature, immature, dignified, undignified, reverent, irreverent, literate, illiterate, logical, illogical, partial, impartial, balanced, imbalanced, materialistic, immaterialistic, definite, indefinite, comfortable, uncomfortable. And here there are words with one syllable, two syllables, and more than one syllables. Let's read them quickly. Come, slip, crop, deck, who. Here two syllables. Perfect, morning, exclaim. More than two syllables. Together, investigate. You need to pronounce these words, listen, and then speak, and then try to write how many syllables are there. Okay, bless, pedestrian, farmer, neighborhood, track, position, began, moderately, interest, screw, favor, slow, impressive, dream, fortunate. We have to match the column A and column B. See, he manages, lends large sum of money. So he is a financier. Someone who studies birds is a ornithologist. Someone who is involved in study of fossils, paleontologist, police officer, private agent, we'll call him detective. Okay. His activity is collecting and studying postage stamps, philatelist. And one who likes books and enjoys reading and collecting them, that is bibliophile. And then he presents the government of a Commonwealth country into another Commonwealth country, so that is, we'll say, High Commissioner. His work is to collect and study coins and metals, his numismatist. And the last one, he does the work of making maps as a cartographer. And then there are this words. Okay, this is choose the correct option. You please go through and try to find out the answer. Other answers I'll be putting in the material, and I'll give you the link in the description. Okay, see you in the next video, children. Bye.